I'm sorry?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Okay, cool. Inshallah. That's all
All
good.
right.
Ini pasti boleh. So, Bismillah. الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأصلي وأسلم على سيد الخلق أجمعين نبينا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم وعلى آله الطاهرين وعلى أصحابه الطيبين ومن استنى بسنتهم إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد. So we begin as we should and as we always do with the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the especially merciful. We ask Him and Him alone to send His peace, His blessings, His tranquility, His love, and His harmony upon our dear and beloved teacher, leader, and guide, Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, upon his pure family, his good companions, and any and all of those who would attempt to follow in their footsteps until the day that we meet our Creator. Allahumma ameen. And so it follows. So inshallah, Jazakallah brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are going to be discussing and talking about the preparation for the month of Ramadan and how important it is and all of the different things that a Muslim needs to do in order to get ready. And just like I mentioned before the salah, or after the salah rather, that it has been said that if you were to give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, that I would take 4 hours to sharpen my axe, speaking to the significance and the importance of preparation. And anybody who has sense, common sense, anybody who is thoughtful, thinking, and using their mind would know that any time that you have a desire and a wish to accomplish anything of significance and importance, something that's worthwhile, there are certain ingredients that have to go into accomplishing that and having any hope of success. From among those ingredients and those things that are necessary, one of them is preparation. And so, along those lines, that's what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks, Bismillah ta'ala, every Friday. So, inshallah, we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate to make it easy for us, that He make this a gathering that is beneficial, that it is, that He grant us beneficial knowledge, and that He benefit us by the knowledge He has already given us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to reach the blessed and sacred month of Ramadan. Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Allahumma ameen. So on that note, inshallah, hopefully we're going to be covering, inshallah, 3 different things over the course of the coming weeks. Actually, we're going to be covering obviously more than 3. Hopefully we'll cover, give or take, maybe 10 topics on this, and inshallah today we're going to be covering 3. We already said the virtues and the blessings of Ramadan, which there are many, so obviously we can't cover everything, but we'll try to cover enough to inspire, motivate, and inform us as to why the month of Ramadan is so important. Like, what do we get out of it? What is the benefit and the khair that we get out of it? And then, of course, also talking about the hikmah of fasting. As we know, the month of Ramadan, there are numerous acts that are to be done in that month. Numerous things that we're supposed to do, right? Aside from standing, meaning the Qiyam al-Layl, Taraweeh, the recitation of the Quran, reading of the Quran, listening to the Quran, connecting with the Quran, sadaqah, charity, visiting family, eating delicious food. All of those things are done in the month of Ramadan, right? But no doubt, the cornerstone of Ramadan is fasting. So what is the hikmah ilahiyya? What are some of the divine wisdoms as to why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated and didn't leave it up to me and you. It's not your choice. If you claim to be a believer, if you say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, if you say that you're Muslim, then this is not an option for you. Fasting the month of Ramadan is wajib, bal huwa rukn min arkan al-Islam. It is an obligation, and it is one of the pillars from the pillars of Islam. And by that we mean it is one of the things that identify you as a Muslim because you do that. Right? Just like if you make Hajj, right? And anybody would recognize it, even a non-Muslim. If they saw on TV and they see that black box and they see all the Muslims, right, wearing the white garb, the ihram, and they see them walking around, even if they don't know that much, they know that, oh, that must be the Muslims. Those are the Muslim guys, right? Why? Because of what they're doing, or what they see them doing, of them going around the Kaaba and making tawaf. Or if somebody, let's say for example, you're at work, and a coworker, he walks in on you, and he sees you with your head, your forehead, and your face on the floor, right? He knows that's not a Buddhist guy, that's not a Wicca guy, he's not a Christian, I don't know everything about them, but that guy, from what I saw he was doing, that's a Muslim. I know that's one of the Muslim guys. That's my coworker, right? They know that from what they see you do. And siyam, fasting, right, is also one of those things that from you doing that, it identifies you as a Muslim. And this is significant and important. There's a reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it one of those actions that you and I, if you say that you're Muslim, you don't have a choice. You must do this. There are other things that you have a choice. Fasting Mondays and Thursdays, you have to do it. It's not wajib. Ashura, it's not wajib. 13th, 14th, and 15th, the ILM, it's not wajib. But fasting Ramadan, no, it's a must. It's a must. And there's divine wisdom in that. There's a reason for that. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, or ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kutiba alaykumus siyam, kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. So look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Oh, you who believe, fasting has been written, prescribed. You know, like a medication. You know, when you go to the doctor or you go to the pharmacist, right? And they write you a prescription. When do they give you a prescription? When does a doctor give you a prescription? When you're sick. When you need to get better. There's something going on in your body. Kutiba alaykum siyam. Fasting has been written for you. And look at, why do we say for sure there's a divine wisdom in it? Because Allah didn't only write it for us. Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, and even the people before us. Why is it that generation after generation Allah is writing this prescription for all of the people? And even Prophet Isa alayhi salam, Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Harun alayhi salam, Nabi Dawood. So that all of them, right? Kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. No doubt there's divine wisdom in that. There must be something special. There must be something unique. There must be something powerful. There must be something potent about fasting and the act of fasting. It may not even be the same. The way that they fasted and the way that we fast. Just like in Surah Maryam, when it's mentioned, right? That I will not talk to anybody. I will not speak to anyone. Let them come to us. I won't talk to anybody. That was fasting, himself. But why is that? There's something powerful and potent in self-denial. There's something powerful and potent, right? In not eating, in not drinking, and denying yourself of these things for a higher purpose and for a higher reason. So along with that, we'll also talk about the adab of siyam. The adab of siyam, because when we fast, there are certain, and many of you, I'm sure you even have this word in your culture, in your languages, some of you, right? Right? What is adab? What is appropriate? What is fitting? You could do like this, but that's not adab. That's ilm. There's some things that you have to do it this way. This is the right way to do it. This is the appropriate way to do it. This is the good, the best way to do it. And when it comes to fasting, yeah, you can fast and just no food, no drink, no intimacy with your spouse, and khalas. And then you just live life like it's a regular day. You could do that, but that's not adab. That's not the right way. The way that you're supposed to do it there's more than just no food, no drink, and no intimacy with my spouse. There's more to it than that. There are adab. So, bidnillah ta'ala, these three things, this is what we want to cover today. Inshallah. So, first thing is, before we start talking about those adab and so on, we're going to start with the virtues and the blessings of Ramadan. And we're going to start with, there's a hadith that's narrated by Jabir ibn Samara, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, where he says that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sa'id al-mimbar, that he was walking up the mimbar. And if anybody knows about the mimbar of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the pulpit where he used to give public addresses, where he used to give the khutbah, the Friday sermon, right? When he's speaking to the companions where they're collected in the masjid. It used to have 3 steps. It has 3 steps. And so, it says that as he was going up the minbar, he said, Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. And so, I want to ask all of you, when do you normally say Ameen? When do you say that? After the Imam in Salat al-Maghrib? Okay, when he says what? Surah al-Fatiha, right? When you recite in the Surah al-Fatiha. When else do you say Ameen? And the dua, which interestingly enough, we should also let you know that Surah al-Fatiha is a dua. Surah al-Fatiha is a dua. Not only is it a dua, and this is a side note, but it is like a template, right? It is a template on how you should make dua, the adab of making dua. Not all of them, but some of the most important adab or etiquettes when you are making dua, particular in what you say, the statements you should have. So for example, it starts with, right? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before you ask for anything, before you say, Ya Allah, this is what I need Iman, I need Jannah, I want protection from the hellfire, before anything, before you ask and request anything, you should praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of how great He is, how illustrious He is, how magnificent He is, that He is Al-Hayy, Al-Qayyum, Al-Ahad, Al-Samad, الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الأول والآخر الظاهر والباطن, right? That He is the ever living, that He never dies, right? That He does not beget, meaning He does not have children, nor does He have, or He Himself was born. And He has nothing that is comparable to Him. There are no other gods that are like Him. There's nothing that is similar to Him. That He is the first. There's nothing before Him. That He is the last. That there is nothing that will supersede Him and come after Him. That He is al-Zahir, right? That He is the highest. And there's nothing that will go up above Him or over Him. And that He is Batin, right? That He surrounds and encompasses everything. And there's nothing that can encompass Him. Simply because of who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, He is deserving of all praise and all glorification, and any good thing that you could possibly say is deserving of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before He does anything for you. Not because you know when you thank someone or praise someone, it's usually or oftentimes because they did something for you. They gave you some money, they helped you out, they did. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether He did something for you, He didn't do anything for you, He still deserves to be praised. Does that make sense, y'all? Whether Allah did something for you or not, He is worthy of and deserving of our praise. So that's how the dua, the Surah Al-Fatiha starts out. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And then of course it mentions some of His attributes, that He is Lord of all that exists, right? And of course there are certain things that go into a Rabb, that He's Al-Khaliq, Al-Raziq, Al-Mudabbir, Al-Malik, and so on, right? And because of this, because of the things that Allah does, He is Rabbul Alameen, Malik Yawmiddin, again mentioning attribute or names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and attributes of Him. And then recognizing, right? إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. You alone we worship, You alone we seek help. Look at, you're saying all of these things before you ask for anything. So when you look at your own dua on your own, when you're by yourself, or after the salah, or before, when you're in trouble and you need something, or when things are going just fine and you just want to appreciate, but you want to ask Allah for more, then praising Allah, mentioning His names and His attributes, especially those things that are related to what you want, or those things that are related to what you need, recognizing and acknowledging your relationship with Him. إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. And Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he mentions more specifically, right? Sending salat and salams on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And then making tawbah and istighfar, right? So that you purify and clean yourself, purified and clean, then you ask for whatever you want, right? But like I said, obviously there's more that can go into that, but it's a good template. That's when you say Ameen. When there's dua, Surah Al-Fatiha, which is a dua, but that's a good place to go back to. If any of y'all are thinking about you want to tighten up and perfect and excel and get better at your dua, look at the tafsir of Surah Al-Fatiha, right? And study how it's structured. So now, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. But I just said that he was doing what when he said it? That he's going up some stairs for his minbar. So he's not praying. All right? Nobody just made dua. He's just walking up the stairs. Right? And then the companions, or it was said, Ya Rasulullah, innaka hina sa'ita al-minbar, qulta ameen, ameen, ameen. So the companions, because they're not praying, because somebody didn't make dua right now, they said, Oh Messenger of Allah, right now when you're going up the minbar, you said ameen, ameen, ameen. Because to them, all they see is him walking up the stairs, but they don't see anything else. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Atani Jibreel alayhi salam, and فقال لي يا محمد من أدرك أحد والديه فمات فدخل النار فأبعده الله قل آمين فقلت آمين. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the Archangel Gabriel, the greatest of all the angels, he came to me and he said, O Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if someone was to have one of their parents, even just one of them, that they reach old age, and then that person, the person who their parents, their mother or their father, reached old age, and that person who their parent got that, reached that, and they go to the hellfire, may Allah cast him far away. Say Ameen, Muhammad. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, so I said Ameen. Then he goes on, he says, Ya Muhammad, man adraka shahra Ramadan. وهذا هو الشاهد. من أدرك شهر رمضان فمات فلم يغفر له فأدخل النار فأبعده الله قل آمين فقلت آمين. So he said that, after he said that, the next thing he said to me is, Oh Muhammad, if someone were to reach the blessed and sacred month of Ramadan, and they somehow, some way, miss the opportunity for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, they are not forgiven, فَلَمْ يُغْفِرْ لَهُ, and they still go to the hellfire, فَأُدْخِلَ النَّارِ, even though they were able to reach Ramadan, they were able to fast, they were able to, the access and the opportunity was there for the mercy of Allah, the forgiveness of Allah, and they still went to the hellfire, فَأَبْعَدَهُ اللَّهُ, may Allah cast them far away. Say Ameen. So Prophet said, so I said Ameen. And then lastly he said, قال ومن ذكرت عنده فلم يصلي عليك فمات فدخل النار فأبعده الله قل آمين وقلت آمين. And then he said that whoever you are mentioned, meaning Prophet Muhammad's name is mentioned in their presence, and they don't send salat and salams on you, and after that they enter into the hellfire, may Allah cast this person far away. Say Ameen. So the Prophet he said, so I said Ameen. Now obviously there are numerous things that we could glean from this, brothers and sisters. Number one is the tremendous opportunity, right, to be granted paradise through birrul walidain, serving our parents, looking after our parents, calling our parents, taking care of our parents, visiting our parents, helping them out. This is a huge opportunity for gaining paradise. As the Prophet ﷺ said elsewhere, that paradise is at the feet of our mothers. At the feet of our mothers. Meaning what? You taking care of them, looking after them, especially when they reach old age. Right? So that means what? So I'm advising myself, and I'm advising all of you. Maybe your parents are back home. You can call them, you can send them money, you can visit them, you can ask about them, inquire about them. If they have friends that are around you or close to you, looking after them, checking up on them. Why? Because they knew your parents, out of honor and respect for your parents. Even if they're not your parent, but it was your father's friend, your mother's friend. They grew up together. Honoring them is a means of honoring your own parents. The point here though is what? Is looking after them. Those of us who are younger, right? And we still have access, or we still live with our parents, listening to the parents, not disobeying them, trying to make them happy as much as you possibly can, serving them, looking after them, not making them take care of you, but rather, once you are older, once you got a little bit of hair on your face, once you're, you know what I'm saying, high school, college, etc., they shouldn't have to still take care of you. They can't fight the impetus and the desire to want to take care of you. That's built into them. That's what Allah, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them. But it should be that as you're coming into your own, instead of them seeing you argue, fight with them, going back and forth with them, because now I'm a man, I'm a rajul, I'm a whatever, it should be that I'm a protector, I'm a helper, I'm a caregiver, I'll look after you. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Kama bayani saghira, the way that they used to take care of me. And in doing so, you have the opportunity to access paradise. And look, the Archangel Gabriel, he said what? He said, if somebody has that opportunity and they miss out on Jannah, فَأَبْعَدَهُ اللَّهُ, that's a curse. And he's telling who to say Ameen? He's telling who to say Ameen? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Essentially, Jibreel alayhi salam is saying, it's your own fault. If your mom is old and you're still alive, or your dad is old and you're still alive, Abu and oil, they're still there, and you didn't give a chance for Jannah, that's your own fault. Because you have this huge opportunity here, and you went to the hellfire, that means it was your own fault. You did it on your own. So that's you. And then, of course, the month of Ramadan. Jibreel alayhi salam is essentially saying what? That it is almost a surefire way to be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is so surefire. Only an idiot would miss this opportunity. Only someone who's foolish and not thinking about their nafs, their ruh, and their ultimate standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're not thinking about that. Instead, they're thinking about, they're thinking about their nafs, meaning their desires, instead of their soul. And it's eternal standing on Yom Qiyamah. If you miss out on that opportunity, it's your own fault. May Allah curse you and cast you far away. This is the huge opportunity, brothers and sisters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to reach it. Then he goes on, speaking about sending salat and salams on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that also being a huge opportunity, right? Because it's so simple, it's so light. And how could we not send salat and salams on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam after everything that he's done? Where he himself, he mentioned. And he's speaking about you and me, brothers and sisters. I want you to consider this. He said, I wish I could see my brothers and sisters. And so the companions who were with him, they said, Alasna ikhwanak? Aren't we your brothers, O Messenger of Allah? He said, Bal antum ashabi. No. You are my companions. You're my disciples. You're the one who are under my direct tutelage. You sit at my feet and I teach you and I mold you. You are my ashab, my companions. But the people who are my brothers and sisters, who I long to and wish to see, are those people who believe in me and they never even met me. They believe in me and they never even met. أو كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the Prophet ﷺ is calling you and I, his brothers, his sisters, that he wishes he can see. And so the Battle of Badr, the Battle of Uhud, Ahzab, the trench, what he had to endure for 13 years at the hands of the Quraysh in Mecca, his wife dying, Khadija, because of their blockades and because of them blocking and stopping them from being able to access food, etc. Him giving up so much for his brothers and sisters who never even met. How can we not send salat and salams on the Prophet? So, again, if you miss that opportunity, it summarizes what? It's your own fault. So you have three things, and there must be a reason why it's all mentioned together. So be mindful, brothers and sisters, when it comes to the month of Ramadan, your relationship with your family, in particular your parents, and even if they're not alive, make a dua for them, praying for them, etc. But if they are, serving them, looking after them, visiting them, helping them, and then exerting ourselves as much as possible, because the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for the taking in the month of Ramadan. And then also sending a lot of salat and salams on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now there's that. The next thing is from the us being prepared for and looking after and thinking about and the virtues of Ramadan. Some of the companions and the Salaf, they used to spend 6 months out of the year. 6 months saying, Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, allow us to reach the month of Ramadan. And then Ramadan comes, they fast, they stand, they give sadaqah ila akhirihi, and then Ramadan is gone. They would spend the next 6 months saying, oh Allah, accept our Ramadan. Because they would never allow themselves, just because they reached Ramadan, just because they fasted, or just because they said, I made all the days, I prayed all of the times in the masjid, all the 30 days or 29 days, alhamdulillah, I gave a lot of charity, and they say, yeah, mashallah, inshallah, I'm good. Yeah. Because how many of us still got angry in Ramadan, possibly made rafath, or al-fusul, or al-isyan, curse somebody, argue with somebody? How many times we mess up in Ramadan? How many times we get forgetful that we're not making dhikr? Or we don't prioritize maybe coming to the masjid, or we don't prioritize reading the Quran. All of those things, Allah is deserving of those things. So if you come up short, which all of us will come up short, that you should never be big-headed and think like, I got it, you know what I'm saying? It's all good, Shay. I don't even worry about it. You don't know if Allah accepted it. That you stay humble and you beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it. You hope that He does. So now, the next thing, the Prophet ﷺ, what he used to do, whenever the month of Ramadan was coming, he used to give glad tidings to his companions. And this is a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, where he said, قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ شَهْرُ رَمَضَانَ شَهْرٌ مُبَارَكٌ افترض الله عليكم صيامه تفتح فيه أبواب الجنة وتغلق فيه أبواب الجحيم وتغل فيه شياطين فيه ليلة خير من ألف شهر من حرم خيرها فقد حرم. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, he says here, there is a month that has come to you, the month of Ramadan, or excuse me, the month of Ramadan has come to you, a month that is full of blessings, a month that is replete with blessings, right? And in that month, Allah has made it an obligation on you to fast. And the doors of paradise are all flung wide open. All of them are open. How many doors to paradise are there, brothers and sisters? How many? There are 8 doors to paradise. Does anybody know their names? At least one. At least give me one. Bab Rayyan. Everybody knows that. The door of fasting. Right? Where someone who, it is a characteristic of them. Right? Not just in Ramadan, but they fast on Mondays and Thursdays. They look to fast on the Ayyam al-Bid. They look to fast on Ashura. They look to fast every time. It's their thing, right? You know that when you see that, mashallah, he loves fasting. He loves siyam. That sister, she loves fasting. Mashallah, tabarakallah. Someone who has that characteristic, Bab Rayyan, only those people. Not the people who fast every month, every year in Ramadan. Not those people. The people who they are always trying to fast. According to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, obviously not every day, but all of the times that are legislated in Sharia, they're trying to fast all those times, as much as they can, those people will be called to go through the Bab Rayyan. So it's not everybody. Now, as far as the other 7 doors, that's homework. Homework. What are those other 7 doors? Obviously, you have to bring it from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, or if you find the Quran. But that's your homework for next week. What are the other 7 doors? Their names, which, by the way, they are mentioned. They are mentioned. Play. So not only are all the doors of paradise open, which is a indication that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy is open for everyone. For those people who want it, for those people who fast, for those people who work for it, for those people who are thirsty and hungry for it. And then all of the gates of hellfire are all closed shut. And they are locked during the month of Ramadan. And how many doors are there, brothers and sisters, to the hellfire? There are 7. And take note, there are more doors to paradise than there are to the gates of the hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the gates of the hellfire. Allahumma ameen. But again, in some ways, Allah is showing you that He wants you to go to paradise. That He wants to give you Jannah. That He is opening it up for you there. You just have to come to Him. But it's one of the blessings of Ramadan, or that the doors of paradise are open, the doors of the hellfire are shut, and the shayateen are chained up. And they cannot, or they don't have access to you, like outside of Ramadan. The waswasa of the shaitan from the jinn, they don't have access to you like that. Encouraging you to do haram, encouraging you to take this, look at that, touch this, do that, they can't do that in the month of Ramadan. That doesn't mean that a person, his own nafs and his own self, is not whispering to himself. And that he doesn't have his own thoughts. But the shayateen, out of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, out of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's care, out of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's concern for His believers, He does that for us, that He changes them up. Another blessing in virtue of Ramadan. And then of course, there is a night that is more or better than 1,000 months. And of course that's Laylatul Qadr, right? And this particular blessing and this virtue, obviously it's a lifetime of worship in one night, but we'll leave to discuss and talk about that more in depth, because that's going to be one of the subjects that we talk about on its own. Laylatul Qadr. Now.
Could someone open it up?
Yeah, please. No, where you at? And then there's another narration speaking on that same thing, that the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions a specific type of shayateen that are chained up, right? And then he mentions that they are maradatu shayateen, that they're the especially rebellious shayateen. But again, this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitating and making it easy for the believing men and the believing women to submit themselves and to fast in the blessed and sacred month of Ramadan. Now, so, how many blessings thus far have we mentioned? If y'all can pick it out. How many blessings have we mentioned? Tell you, what are they?
All the doors of Jannah are open.
All of the doors of paradise are open. Tell you, that's one.
Forgiveness?
Huh?
Forgiveness?
The forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for the taking for whoever's willing to work for it. What about the shayateen?
The big ones are
They're chained up. The shayateen are chained up. Now,
The doors of heaven.
but that doesn't mean there's no ma'asi and sins and dhunub in Ramadan. There are shayateen min al-ins. There are the human beings who are, and sometimes their whispering is even worse than the shayateen. Al-jinn. وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Now, that's 3. What else? Huh?
Of not are closed.
The gates of the hellfire are closed. No.
Night of Laylatul Qadr.
The night of Laylatul Qadr. No. So look, and all of those we just took from just two hadith, right? Obviously, there's plenty that can be said. I'll mention just a couple more, inshallah. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentions, right? And this is in Muslim Imam Ahmed, that both fasting, as-siyam wal-Qur'an, yashfa'an. They are both intercessors. And by intercessors, meaning they come and they plead on your behalf. Right? So that means your fasting that you do in Ramadan on Mondays and Thursdays, because this is not exclusive to Ramadan, just your fasting in general. On Yawm al-Qiyamah, it will somehow, some way, come in the form of a person. How is that? Allahu Akbar. I never saw it, so I can't explain it to you. And the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't explain it, so nobody else can explain it to you. And it's not in the Quran. How is it done? Allahu Akbar. What will it look like? But what we do know is that somehow, some way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take your fasting, those deeds, and it will come in the form of a person who will talk. And that person will talk, and they will beseech and ask for you, on your behalf. And same way, your recitation of the Quran, your tadabbur of the Quran, your reading of the Quran, your reflecting over the Quran, your implementation of the Quran, also will come in the form of a person. And they'll come and they will ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fasting will say, "Oh my Lord," right? "I prevented your servant from eating and drinking during the day. Please accept my intercession on his behalf." And then your recitation of the Quran will come and say, "Oh my Lord, I prevented your slave, your servant, from sleeping at night. So please accept my intercession on their behalf." And of course, meaning reciting the Quran at night. And what else is related to Quran that you're going to do at night, in particular in Ramadan? You're doing what? Taraweeh. Where the Quran is being recited, you're listening to the Quran being recited, if you're praying behind the Imam, or you yourself if you're praying Taraweeh or Ta'ajjud. So now they will come and ask, "Oh Allah, please forgive them, have mercy on them," right? And it will be said, right? قَالَ فَيُشَفَّعَانِ. Go ahead, ask for whatever you want. That person who came from the fasting, and the person who came as the recitation of the Quran, they will be told, ask for whatever you want for him. Ask for whatever you want. Again, one of the blessings and the barakah of fasting, right? During the day and standing in the night. And you will find, brothers and sisters, these two things will come together in Ramadan. Don't forget this. Fasting in the day, standing in the night. These two things, they go together in Ramadan. So now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions, كل عمل ابن آدم يضاعف الحسنة عشر أمثالها إلى 700 ضعف. That all of the actions, your prayers, your sadaqah, your jihad, your teaching Islam, your everything that you do, right? By default, automatically, you do one thing, it is multiplied by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tenfold, automatically. And it could be 20, 100, 200, 500, 575, ila 700, up to 700 times that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes your one good deed. He takes it and he flips it 10 times, 15 times, like an investment, right? You invest $10, right? And it goes into the market or the stock market or whatever, right? And it grows and it grows and it grows. And over time, right, that $10 becomes what? $100, could be $1,000, etc. And in some narrations, the Prophet ﷺ, he doesn't stop at ila sab'imi'ati dhif. In another narration, he says, ila ad'afin kathira, that it could go up Allah, an infinite amount of times that Allah is taking your meager one good deed and flipping it and flipping it and multiplying it until it is incalculable. It is far more than what you do that Allah is rewarding. And this, of course, is because Allah is Al-Jawad, that He is the most generous, that He is Al-Razzaq, that He is the provider, that He is Al-Wahhab, He is the giver of gifts. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we do one few good deeds, Allah is giving you so much more than we deserve. Allahu Akbar. And so then, now, this hadith, it switches to Hadith Qudsi, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, those good deeds, all of them they are for Ibn Adam, for the son of Adam. Those ones, I told you some of the math, so to speak. Because in reality, I mean, how do you calculate what is one ajr or one hasan? Do you know how big it is? How much it weighs? Do you know? No. Allah, He tells us those things in the language, I mean, just for us to try to wrap our heads around and to try to comprehend. But in reality, how much is 100 ajr? How big is that? Allahu A'lam. We don't know. But He's telling you this for our benefit because that's what we know is the language. So, and numbers, that's what we know. But here, there's an exception. He said all of them are for the sons of Adam, illa as-sawm, except for the fasting. This one is different. This one is unique. This one is stand out. It's not the same with the other deeds. It's not the same. This one is different. As-sawmu li wa ana ajzi bih. See, I told you the reward for these other ones, so you can try, and you start calculating, you're tallying up, and it's this much, and you divide, and then you multiply with this one, and you carry the 3, and this and that, and you're trying to figure out, like, how much is my reward? My salah, 25, 27, I prayed at the masjid, it's multiplied. But the fasting, Allah said, this one, I hold it back, it's for me, don't worry about it. Why? Because whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in store, whatever reward it is far more than you can fathom, far more than you can imagine. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants, that He is planting a seed inside of you that makes you think, what does Allah have in store for me? Right? I'm hoping, it makes you hope in His generosity. It makes you hope in His giving nature. It makes you hope in what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in store. Because whatever you think and whatever comes to your mind, it is more than that. It is greater than that. It is better than whatever you can think of. Look at just the bare minimum. Everything that is in Jannah is more than you can even imagine. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentions, right, the delights that you will experience. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to experience all of the pleasures in Jannah. Allah, He says, there will be things, delights, that you see there, لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. He said the things that you will see there, experience there, live there, taste there, touch there, enjoy there, no eye has ever seen, no ear has ever heard, and it's never even occurred to the imagination that you can even possibly think of in your heart. Nothing will prepare you for what is in paradise. So, if that's what He said about the bare minimum, get in paradise, then what are you supposed to be thinking about and hoping in, being motivated about when Allah says, I'm holding back some reward? I'm not even going to tell you what it is. It's supposed to make your mind pertinent. And you think, Allah, what is it? I hope whatever it is, I want it, because I know it's going to be better than anything. Allah. So, He says now, He goes on though. As-sawmu jannah, right? That fasting, it is a shield. It is a protection. It is a barrier, right? And it is a barrier from so many things, brothers and sisters. It is a barrier from the shayateen. It is a barrier from fitna. It is a barrier from the base part of yourself. The part that wants to sleep more than it needs. The part that wants to eat more than it needs. The part that wants to enjoy intimacy more than it needs. The part that transgresses, that lies, that is covetous, that wants things that it doesn't belong to, that nature that we have inside of us, it protects you against that. and shields you and strengthens and fortifies you so that you can put it in check and put it in its place. الصوم جنة. فإذا كان يوم الصوم أحدكم فلا يرفض يومئذ ولا يسخر فإن سابه أحد أو قاتله فليقل إني امرؤ صائم. Right? والذي نفسي بيد محمد بنفس محمد بيدي excuse me. لخلوف فم صائم أطيب عند الله يوم القيامة من ريح المسك ولصائم فرحتان يفرحهما إذا أفطر فرح بفطره وإذا لقي ربه فرح بصومه. رواه البخاري ومسلم. So the Prophet now goes on to say what? That fasting is a shield, a barrier and a protection. And how can I forget? A barrier and a protection, more importantly, from the hellfire. He says, so when the day of fasting comes, and the time of fasting comes, and that moment of truth, when you're supposed to fast, don't think it is limited to your tongue, your mouth, your stomach, and your farj, your private parts. It is more than that. He said, at that time, while you are fasting, لا يرفض ولا يسخر. Do not curse. Do not be vile. You're supposed to have a high standard and level of character in your dealings with people. Not simply using your being hungry if you're when you're fasting or thirsty as a reason to be rude, to be disrespectful. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm fasting, I didn't have my coffee today. My blood sugar is low. So if I get angry, I'm cranky, or if I snap at you, or if I snap at my wife, or if I yell at my kids, that's not what it's supposed to be. Your fasting is supposed to extend from your physical body, from your physical, the hunger, the thirst, the intimacy, and that self-denial of those things. And it's supposed to be a self-denial of your ego, your anger, that you're supposed to say no to that. Just like you said no to the food, just like you said no to the, right, to the eating, the drinking, you're supposed to say no to your own ego. But he said this to me. How can I let him talk to me like that? She said that to me. Don't they know who I am? How dare they say this to me? You're supposed to say no to those things. But I'm tired, I don't want to do it. You're supposed to say, no. Get up. We're going to pray. But I just got off of work. No. We'll rest later. Right now, we're going to read the Quran. You're supposed to say no to them, to those different things. And then if somebody, look at the Prophet ﷺ, he goes on to say, well, even if somebody came to you, and I want you to imagine that. Imagine somebody came and cursed you to your face. What would you do? What would you say? Most of us, if you're warm-blooded, most of us would say, who are you talking to? You talking to me? I know you ain't talking to me. It's not like that. I know you ain't getting disrespectful with me like that. You must be talking to somebody else. Many of us that would do, or would curse them right back, or say whatever right back, and give them the same energy, and say the same thing right back, if not worse. But then you're doing what? You're feeding your ego, and you're supposed to be fasting. Your ego shouldn't be eating. You're giving your ego something to drink, and he should be hungry. Just like your body's hungry, your ego should be hungry too. Prophet ﷺ said, "Inside bones." Somebody cursed you. Not somebody said, "Get out my way, get out my face." Somebody says some word. You know what the words are. You know what the curse words are. I don't have to say it. We on camera. Stop for the love. You know what they are. And the Prophet ﷺ doesn't stop there. If they try to throw hands, if they try to fight you, if they try to beat you, you're supposed to say what? I'm sorry, I'm fasting. And when you say that, again, it is your ego that you are saying no to. Do not think it is because of weakness. Do not think it is because of meanness. That you might be bigger than that person. You might be stronger than that person. You might be a more skilled. You might be able to. You might have hands for them for days. So you tell them it's not because I'm scared of you. I'm not afraid of you. It's not because I can't hold my own with you. but because I have a higher purpose, I have something that I'm keeping my eyes on the prize, and it's more than your pettiness. It's more than your negativity. And I'm not going to stoop to your level because you cursed me or said something to me. I ain't got time for that. I'm fasting. So you're not saying I'm fasting because you're announcing to people like people do on social media, I'm doing this, I'm feeding these sandwiches to these poor people, I'm giving this soup here, I gave away $1 million or whatever it is that they be doing on social. No. It's that it's more like a reminder for yourself. Because you know you're gonna want to say something. You know you're gonna want to do something. And you got to take it to the next level. It's not just an internal conversation. You got to articulate and say it out loud. Hey, I'm fasting. I ain't got time for that. It's more of a reminder for yourself than it is for that person. That you need to hear with your own ears. I'm fasting. Because why? Because of all of the gems and all of the jewels and all of the beauty and all of the reward and all of the khair and the barakah that you're not trying to lose out for this petty little, you know what I'm saying? Because somebody said a few curse words, because somebody said, you know what I mean? Right? Because he said, what's up? And he tried to square up with you, or she tried to pull you into an argument. Now let's make that a little more real. If your wife tries to get into an argument with you, your coworker, your colleague, or your husband, some husbands, Allah understand, you don't know which one is harder, his head or the rock, Allah. Some, it might be like that, and he might have an argumentative nature. Sister, you gotta say, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm fasting. Tell you. So, then he goes on and it says, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, I swear by the one whom Muhammad, his soul is in his hands. This is another blessing about fasting. He said, I swear that the khuluf al-fam, or la khuluf al-fam, the smell, the stench, which to you and me is unpleasant. Right? And it's explained that when you are fasting, that unpleasant smell, that funk, there's no other way to say it, it stinks. Right? Because your stomach is empty, and so the bile, right, and the fuel and everything that's in there, that is coming up, and that's the smell that's emanating from your mouth. The Prophet ﷺ said, that smell, though, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on Yom Al-Qiyamah, is more fragrant, more beautiful, right, than the smell of misk. And the reason is, it's not the smell, brothers and sisters, but it is the cause and the reason for that person having that smell in their mouth. Why are they doing that? Because I'm giving up these things for you, Allah. And because this is what happened. This is what's happening. I'm in this state right now, right? This humble state. And right now, one of the things that is happening is that it smells bad. I gave up drink. My wife, I love my wife dearly. But I forewent intimacy. We're not doing that. Why? Ya Allah, for you. And mind you, look at all three of those things that I mentioned. Food, drink, and intimacy with one's spouse. Are any of those things haram? None of them are haram. As a matter of fact, you take it even further. Not only are they just not haram, that you're allowed to do those things under other circumstances or normal circumstances, but subhanAllah, they're not just things that you like, love, and want, which they are. You need them. You need water. If you do not have hydration for more than 7 days, if you have absolutely no hydration, what will happen to the human, a person? You will die. That's how bad you need water. And if you don't eat, on average, obviously we're talking average, for 2 weeks, you have no protein, no carbs, no nutrients for more than 2 weeks. Again, what will happen? The average human being will die. You need those things. And intimacy with your spouse, one can even say that is a biological need. That connection, that intimacy, that physical, you need that. And yet you are these halal things, you are giving them up for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. for Allah. And of course, the reward in that, the khair in that, the barakah of that, but that's the reason for your mouth smelling. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a pleasant smell. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions when you slaughter. It's not the blood that reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah doesn't need that goat meat. Allah doesn't need that camel meat. Allah doesn't need it. But what reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? A taqwa. The reason why you're slaughtering, when you're saying Bismillah, that costs you money. You had to spend money to buy a camel. Camels are not cheap. Camels are not cheap. And depending on what kind, its breed, its pedigree, it could be thousands and thousands of dollars. And yet you took that money and you spent it. And you spent it and then you killed that animal. And you slaughtered it. Bismillah. Why? Because of something that's going on in here. Similarly with the fasting, it's not about what's on your mouth and the smell, but it's about what's going on in here. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves this. So now, brothers and sisters, we have just some of the benefits and the blessings and the virtues of Ramadan. And then we have left the hikmah, inshallah, and we'll try to run through those quickly. And I know that the adhan has already been given to a while ago. So can we give us 10 minutes and then we'll pray? 10 minutes, inshallah? We're good? Khalas. So then now from the hikmah of fasting, right? One of the first things, brothers and sisters, about fasting, one of the hikmah ilahiyah, or the divine wisdom, is that fasting is a means and a way of someone purifying their nafs and cleaning their nafs. Excuse me, and by cleaning your nafs, we mean cleaning the soul and treating it, in particular, from arrogance and from greed. In particular, from arrogance and greed. As we mentioned earlier, right? We said you're saying no to food when you're fasting. You're saying no to drink. You're saying no to all these things. But one of the things you are doing to your soul is you're telling your ego, your nafs, you're telling us no. And what is happening here, essentially, is that you are allowing your soul to take the driver's seat. You have your soul and you have your body. So the food, the drink, the diet, the wants, those things, that's like your body. And your soul, right, is now your spiritual self. He's taking the driver's seat. Right? And when he's taking the driver's seat, your body will support that because he has to go wherever your soul is. And most of the time, though, it's switched. Our body's in the driver's seat. And because of that, that's when people are lazy when it comes to praying salah. Instead of you saying, no, I have to go to the masjid to pray. No, I have to read more Quran. Because in Ramadan, you really want to push yourself more. But if your body is in the driver's seat, it says, no, I don't go home and rest. Why? We had a long day at work. It was tough. And so he drives you home. But if your spirit is the one who's in control, he's the one in the driver's seat, he says, no. You have to go to the masjid. No. I'm not going to lay down right now. I have to read Quran. Then he's the one who's driving and the body will follow that. You'll find vigor. You'll find energy. You'll find what you need. Your body will, because he will go wherever the soul wants to. But al-muhim, so now, so number two is it restricts the pathways for the shaitan, right? The Prophet ﷺ, he mentions that the shaitan yajri fi bani Adam, or fi bani Adam kama jari dam, right? Shaitan, right? He's running through you, right? And that's why it's facilitated for him, it's easier for him, especially the more you eat, especially the more you drink, especially the more you, right? The more you succumb to your like base desires, the more shaitan has a pathway in there, right? And fasting restricts those pathways for him to be able to suggest to you, whisper to you, and so on. So this is from the wisdoms, right, of fasting. That he doesn't find openings for you now. Because he's always trying. But when you fast, right, and especially outside of the month of Ramadan, when the shayateen are not chained up, right, when he's trying to penetrate you in your armor and your defenses, he has no way to get in. Or the way the pathways are limited, then it makes it more difficult for him to get in. Play it. Another benefit of fasting, or wisdom of fasting, right, is that fasting essentially it tempers your nafs and it empties your heart for desire and want for the dunya. Right? It tempers that, and by tempers that, it diminishes it. That's why, for example, the Prophet ﷺ, he mentions, right, he encourages young people to get married. Ya ma'shar al-shabab. Right? Yani, whoever has ba' فليتزوج. If you're able to, if you're capable, if you're physically able, you're mentally ready, you're spiritually ready, right? That you are mature. If you're able to get married, then you should go ahead and get married. You should go ahead and get married. But if you're not able to, what did the Prophet ﷺ recommend and suggest? If you're not able to, then fast. Because fasting diminishes that drive and that desire, right, that you naturally have in you. And it will help you to lower your gaze. It will help you to control your sexual desires, right? Right? And not only that, but it helps and aids in somebody making tafakkur and tadabbur, somebody being able to reflect and to think. And we actually mentioned a statement of Imam Shafi rahimahullah today in the khutbah, where Imam Shafi mentions, he said, for 16 years I never ate to my fill. 16 years I never ate until I said, whew, man, I got loose in my belt. He said, I never did that for 16 years, not once. Right? And part of the reason for that, he said, is because I never saw something that was, that caused someone to be more lazy, right? And diminished someone's capacity and ability to think with clarity, and to think clearly, right? And so subhanAllah, when you're fasting, right, it opens that up for you and allows you to be able to have tafakkur and tadabbur, reflection, right, and to be able to think clearly, right? Y'all ever heard of the itis? When you get so hungry you want to fall asleep, he's saying that that's not good for you. It causes you to get sleepy. That's not something good. Even though oftentimes people look at it like, yeah, oh man, that was some good food. But in reality, that's hurting you, both physically and mentally. Play it. The fourth one is that, of course, fasting is, right, one of the greatest acts of worship. It is one of the greatest acts of worship. And of course, an act of worship allows you to do what? It allows you to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And this brings me to the next point. Number 5 is that, right, this is a means, a cause of taqwa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in his glorious book in Surah Al-Baqarah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun, in hopes, perhaps, that you will become God conscious, that you will have spiritual clarity, that you will be thoughtful, considerate, and thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Through what? Because you're thinking about food less. You're thinking about drink less. You're thinking about all of these material, dunyawi things less. And so as such, you still need them. You still partake of them. Even when you're fasting, you still eat at the end of the day. You're able to enjoy the company of and companionship of your spouse at the end of the night. But during the day, you're leaving those things off so that you can focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when you practice that, and when you do that, outside of Ramadan, it becomes that much more easier for you because you have experience now, you have practice now. But the difference is, right, when you're fasting in Ramadan, it's different than, and what you're dealing with in Ramadan, staying away from haram, staying away from those things that are allowed, that's self-denial, telling yourself no, telling your stomach no, telling your mouth no, telling your private part, you're telling it all no. I'm denying those things. Or I'm being more careful, and I'm being more self-aware. I'm being more considerate about my surroundings. Is this pleasing to Allah? Is this going to give me halal? Is this going to break my fast? I can't do this. I shouldn't do that. That awareness, right? You have the opportunity in Ramadan to practice that taqwa and that state of heart and mind in like a safe environment. So think about it like this. What do I mean by safe environment versus like outside of Ramadan, which is a little more dangerous? Think about like a police officer or a firefighter, all right? Now a firefighter, when they go to put out a fire at a house, right? It's dangerous. It's deadly, right? It's dangerous and deadly. And the stakes are, right? If you mess up, if you make it, you could die, right? Those flames, they're real. But when they practice, and there's a controlled fire, right? And everything is, right, under circumstances, this is a testing site, or this is, right, it's a safe, controlled environment for them to practice, for them to prepare, for them to get ready, right? And then, after they've done that, after they've graduated, after they did all the things that they needed to do, and they're prepared now, they're ready now. All right, now you can go in and you can fight some real fires. Or if you're a police officer, right? They don't use real bullets when they're training. It's not, right? It's not some real criminal in front of them. It's practice. But then when they graduate, then it's real, it's for real. Then it's real dangerous. Then the stakes are much higher. Fasting in Ramadan, what do we say happened to the shayateen when you're in Ramadan? They're chained up. So it's a little bit easier for you. So now you can practice having taqwa. You can practice telling your ego no. You can practice saying, and you're practicing saying no to halal things. So that when you get outside of Ramadan and you got to say no to haram things, you had this other stuff over here that if you wanted it, you could have had it and it would be okay. So now this other stuff that you're not supposed to have, you're not supposed to touch, you're not supposed to look at, it becomes that much easier for you to say no to. When the stakes are higher, when it's more real, when the shayateen are not chained up, when it's more, you understand? Do y'all see that correlation, y'all? Alhamdulillah. Or that analogy, excuse me. So now, and I want you to understand, the taqwa, that is the ultimate goal of fasting. Taqwa, meaning that spiritual clarity, that awareness and that thoughtfulness and that thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is what the fasting is all about. All of the things that you're doing, the hunger, the thirst, all of that is supposed to create an awareness inside of you. And it's supposed to create an awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And some of the other ones we'll go through a little bit quicker here. So fasting trains you to be more forbearing, to control your anger, to refrain from causing harm to others, right? That you're not supposed to be, right, making rafath, fusuq, etc. Right? We said that you're holding yourself back, not supposed to be fighting with anyone. It helps you to control that, to have more patience. Fasting also shows the unity of the Muslims, right? That we're all supposed to, in the month of Ramadan, that we're all supposed to be fasting together, we're praying together, we're eating together, breaking bread together. You see how kind the Muslims are, at least much more kinder, right, in the month of Ramadan. They're more giving in the month of Ramadan. It's supposed to bring us together and show that unity. It's a month of gratitude and appreciation for what you have, right? You see, right, our brothers and sisters. I want you to think about this. If we reach the month of Ramadan, may Allah allow us to do so. When we fast, we'll get to break our fast at the end. We'll have food, we'll have the dates, the big old fat, juicy, majmul dates, even though the sunnah is to break our fast with rutub dates. But everywhere you go, all the masajid, they always have the majmul dates. But under him, you'll have that. You'll get the milk, the water, the juice, the sambusa, right? All the different foods that you'll get to eat. But our brothers and sisters in Palestine, they will not get to break their fast. They will have nothing. Even if they have the niyyah for fasting, what will they break their fast with? At Maghrib. Or our brothers and sisters in Sudan, what will they break their fast with? They don't even have a place to sleep. So then, as difficult as that is to hear or to see or to even think about, that's one part of why Allah allows us to see those things and it to hit our heart. It's supposed to make us care for them, to have empathy for them, to push us to want to do something for them, however that we can, whether it's to give, to support an effort, etc. But it's also supposed to make you not only look outward, but also to look inward and say, Alhamdulillah for what I have. You know, the problems that I'm going through while I'm fasting, they're not as bad as what they're going through. Allah. Somebody, you get into a little whatever in the parking lot with some Muslim brother or sister, it will look that much smaller to you when you think about your brothers and sisters who are being bombed, who are being massacred, who are being slaughtered. You say, Wallahi, that's nothing. Wallahi, that's nothing. What I'm going through, what I got to deal with, that's nothing. What I have, alhamdulillah. Wallahi khair wa barakah. Wallahi khair wa barakah. And we are in a unique position. As I look out, in this audience, is, many of us, we came from different countries. We came from different places. If not us, our parents. And many of us have a direct connection. Where some of them, they didn't get the paperwork, they didn't get the visa, they didn't win that lottery to get the visa. They're still back home. We send money back home to them. We know exactly what they're going through. We have to talk to them every week. We know exactly what it is. It should make you that much more, as hard as that is, it should make you say, Alhamdulillah for what I have. Say, Alhamdulillah for what I have. Ramadan is supposed to facilitate that for you, in particular when it comes to the part about the hunger. But all of the other aspects as well. So we said gratitude, it's a month of patience, and also it is a month of victory in jihad. Some of the greatest victories that the Muslims had in their history has been in the month of Ramadan, right? So for example, you have the battles with the Crusades, even when Jerusalem was taken back, was in the month of Ramadan. Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, as well as other times, would happen in the month of Ramadan. And many of the greatest futuhat that the Muslims have been in the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us and bless us to have the dignity, the honor to see Jerusalem return to the hands of the Muslims. The Masjid al-Aqsa to be returned to the hands of the Muslims. Allahumma ameen. Obviously, there are many, many more that I can mention, but we said 10 minutes, so I think I already went over a couple more minutes. So, inshallah, we're going to stop here. But, brothers and sisters, as I often say, when it comes to these either workshops, or these halaqat, or these classes, or everything that we hold at the masjid, I never want you to think that it is enough. Me sitting up here, whatever research that I've done, or reading that I've done, or preparation, or whatever I'm sharing with you here, never think that khalas, how they get feed. It should never be enough for you. It should simply be, alhamdulillah, a jump start for you, and a catalyst for you, brothers and sisters, to go back on your own, for yourself, to read, reflect, to think, right? Because it is for your own self. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara waquduha an-nas wal hijara. O you who believe, save yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is many stones. Us coming here together, right? And somebody might say, well, then why should we even come into the message? Why don't I just go ahead and read a book myself, or listen to a muhammad myself at the crib, if that's what you're saying? No, come on. There's an aspect of us coming together as a community, brothers, sisters in the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is khair and barakah in that. Tremendous amount. And we've spoken about that. The tranquility of Allah, the mercy of Allah, right? The angels, right? Descending, coming down, surrounding those type of gatherings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions by name in gatherings better than this one. Those are just some of the benefits of coming and having something like this at the masjid. And this is one of the things that from the inception of me coming to this masjid has always been that there is learning going on, that there is reading going on, that there is knowledge being shared and benefited in our community. That would be like a focal point of the masjid. Not politics, not our particular ethnic group, not our, you know what I'm saying, this party or that party, but that it would be that we are all coming together trying to create, right, or emulate rather, a new culture that is really an old culture, which is that of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. That you might have a different background, that you might have different foods, that you might have different origins, you have different interests, tastes, etc. But that when we come together here, that it is based on Qala Allah, Qala Rasul, and that understanding. The understanding of the Sahaba, the understanding of the Salaf, Ridwanullahi alayhim. And so, nonetheless, with that being said, that you go back and read and reflect and think on your own. Right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless this gathering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not allow any of us to leave here except that it is with forgiveness for our sins and our mistakes. We ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anybody who's here, who is sick, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cure and heal them with a healing and a cure that leaves no trace of sickness. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla, the mighty, the majestic, and the sublime, that He alleviate anyone who has debt here, may He remove that debt from them. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to alleviate the suffering and the difficulties of our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Gaza, and all over the Muslim world. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to aid our brothers and sisters in Sudan and in Somalia, and anywhere where the Muslims are struggling and suffering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant steadfastness for all those who are fighting in His cause and fighting for La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them steadfastness and unite the hearts and the ranks of the Muslims. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all goodness, both in this life and the next, and protect us from every harm. إِنَّهُ وَلِيُّ ذَلِكَ وَقَادِرٌ عَلَيْهِ وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Inshallah, we'll go ahead and pray Salat al-Isha.